Hey, everybody, this is Will Beinbrink. I am the lead of the Exorcism of God film, and I want to welcome you to the Horror Squad podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Squad podcast. This is episode number 296, where tonight we are going to be talking about 2023's The Nun Part 2. So I know, Steve, get that lotion ready, buddy, because we know she's your girl. We are Toddless tonight, sort of. He did jump in and give his thoughts on the movie, so you will hear him a little bit during our Nun 2 review. But me and Steve going to be taking it down. Steve, how you been? How was your weekend?
Great weekend. Did a lot of dinners and stuff, so that was fun. I actually did something I've never done before. I went to a restaurant that had robot waiters, and that was super interesting. That was the first time I've ever done that. The way that works is that you have people, they come to you, they explain how the whole process works. They give you an iPad, and it was an all-you-can-eat sushi place, and you order what you want on the iPad, and then you send the robot, and then eventually the robot rolls to your table. It has the food on its back, kind of, and once you grab the plate, it senses that there's no food left. It says thank you, and it just turns back around and goes back to the kitchen. And that's what it does the whole time as you're kind of reordering sushi. It was wild, man. It was like living in the future.
Wow. The future is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Can you believe? I mean, that sounds wild. That's pretty awesome. I did go to a con this weekend. I'm going to be talking about it during our What Watch segment because we have a little bit of a busy intro here. We have a few big announcements to make regarding October and our events. We were teasing a really big one for a while now. We're going to save that the best for last. So let's start off with a couple that we are going to be doing with our friends from, of course, Silver Moon Comics and Collectibles. We did the Damien Maffei event last year, the last 2 years there, and we also did our Armory Cats event there last year as well. Well, Silver Moon reached out to us, very nice of them, and they want us involved in a couple more events here. So these, I will mention, all three of these events are in Salem, Massachusetts. So hopefully you can make it. It's over 3 different weekends, so hopefully you can make it out to at least one of them. Starting with number 1, on Saturday, October 7th, the first Jason himself, Ari Lehman, will be signing at Silver Moon Comics. He will be there from 12 to 4 signing autographs. Also that night, his band, the first Jason, will also be performing a concert over at Bit Bar. Time for that concert is to be announced, but just keep an eye on our socials and we will give you details on that. And then the next day, Sunday, October 8th, there will be a screening of the original Friday the 13th at Cinema Salem. Once again, are also good friends of Cinema Salem. There will be a Q&A with Ari Lehman before the screening. So go and check that out. I don't know if we're going to be involved in the Q&A and all that. I don't know the full details yet. I got to talk to Silver Moon, but I think for sure we will be at the signing that that Saturday, October 7th for sure. So if you want to come hang out with us and see us as well, head to the signing at Silver Moon. We should definitely be at that one. All right, now event number 2 is going to be taking place on Saturday, October 28th, where Douglas Tate will be signing at Silver Moon from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Douglas Tate, probably best known for his roles of he played Michael Myers in Halloween Kills for stunt scenes, and he also played Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason and also stunt scenes. Most notably, in the Freddy vs. Jason, he is the Jason that comes out of the water at the end holding Freddy Krueger's head. As far as Halloween Kills, I believe he did the scenes in the beginning of the movie, but don't hold me to that. I didn't do a full breakdown on him, but he played Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, so that is really cool. He is also, so he'll be signing at 11 to 2:30, but this is really cool. From 3 to 6 p.m., he is going to be doing an in full Jason costumed photo op at Silver Moon Comics from 3 to 6. He will be having holding the Freddy head and everything right from that scene. So that's going to be really awesome as well. Silver Moon is going to be pre-selling tickets for that. I don't think they've gone out on sale yet, but once they do, keep an eye, of course, our Discord and all of our socials. We will announce that as well. And also that same night at 7:30 p.m., there will be a screening of Freddy versus Jason, and Douglas Tate will be doing a Q&A as well before that screening. So once again, that is Saturday, October 28th for that event, the whole day, starting at 11 a.m. with the signing, costume up at 3, and movie at 7:30. So those two events out of the way, it's time to finally announce, ladies and gentlemen, something that has been in the works for months and months now, honestly. And we are so excited to finally be able to announce our big event for October. The event is titled It's Just a Bunch of Halloween, which you might sound familiar to a property we cannot discuss due to ongoing strikes. But this event is going to be really amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Our good friend Omri Katz is going to be coming back to Salem, and he's bringing a few other friends. He is bringing Vanessa Shaw, Jason Marsden, and Thora Birch. 4 people you might recognize from a very popular movie. So this is going to be a 2-day event starting Friday, October 20th. There is going to be a special VIP party at Bit Bar. Tickets are going to go on sale. Actually, they're already on sale as of this recording. So I'll give you the full details on that. I don't believe anything will be sold out by the time you hear this. So the party is going to be Friday, October 20th at Bit Bar. It is going to be from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. It is going to be hosted by our good friend, Ms. Diamond Wigfall. There is going to be a pro photo included with this ticket is going to be a pro photo op with all 4 of the actors, as well as there's going to be a burlesque show, a drag show, a DJ. You're going to get free game tokens and food. There is going to be a lot involved, plus a special swag bag that Sam is working on from Halloween Happy. That is going to be amazing as well. So that is going to be amazing. Tickets you can get on sale. It's just a bunch of Halloween.com. Like I said, go to our socials and stuff. You'll find the websites on all of that. And then on Saturday, October 21st, the 4 actors, once again, Omri Katz, Jason Marsden, Vanessa Shaw, and Thora Birch are going to be signing autographs and taking photos at Salem Commons, which if you look across where they'll be signing, the high school is right there from that popular movie that, I'm trying to give as many hints as I can, folks, here, but I can't, due to the strike, we can't say it all. They are going to be signing on Salem Common from 12 to 7 p.m. So it is going to be a full weekend of events. It's going to be amazing. You can pre-buy autographs and photos as well for the signing on Salem Common, which I highly recommend you do because there is a cap. We have already discussed it. They are only going to be able to sign so many, obviously, autographs and photos. We know this is going to be the 4 of them together. It doesn't happen very often. It is kind of a rare thing. So we know it is going to be very popular. So I would definitely recommend pre-buying your tickets because we do expect those to sell out at some point. So once again, head to itsjustabunchofhalloween.com for the event. Me and Steve are going to be there for sure. Todd on the fence. I think he might show. We'll see. I don't know. We're going to try to push him to be there, but we're going to have a table set up as well next to the actors. We'll have some hopefully exclusive merch to the event. We're kind of working on that right now, but you can come by, say hi to us as well for the event. And we're working with a ton of partners on this. I'm not going to name them all because there's so many of them, but you can see it on the flyer and posters we're going to post along the way. But thank you so much to everybody that has helped work on this with us. It has been quite a journey, but it is going to be an amazing event. So yeah, Steve, let's hear your thoughts on this.
Man, yeah, this has been in the works a really long time. We kind of teased it last year that this is something we wanted to do when we hosted Omri Katz, because that event went so friggin' well that we're like, can we make this somehow bigger? And this year, it's definitely a lot bigger. You're saying how rare it was that these 4 individuals get together. It not only is it rare, but I believe this is the first time ever that the four of them are together in Salem. So this is kind of a monumental event, and it's going to be so freaking cool. And huge kudos to Joe. The amount of emails and like logistics involved in this thing is ridiculous. So I'm on the same email, like just so for Horror Squad stuff, and I just see them pass. It's like nonstop. Just while he was talking, I saw like 3 of them go out, and it's pretty wild just to see the names, like just to see like Thora Birch emailing and like stuff like that. No, it's going to be an amazing event from top to bottom. I can't wait to talk more of the details and stuff over the coming weeks. And thank you everyone for your patience. I know we've been teasing this forever. It wasn't like kind of our fault. There's a lot of logistics going on, and we didn't know what would happen with the strike. Unfortunately, some of the plans had to be nixed because of the strike. But I think what we came up with is going to be friggin' awesome, and I can't wait to be there in Salem again in October. It's going to be awesome. So highly recommend you join us on the weekend of 20 and 21st, right?
Yeah, October 20th and 21st. There's going to be a lot of great stuff going on. I should also mention, actually, on Friday, October 20th, our local news is coming in. They do a thing called Zip Trip. And so anyone that's there Friday morning, you might want to show up because there might be something special in that on that morning as well, which we will announce the sooner it gets to it. But it is going to be just an incredible weekend. Once again, you can buy your tickets now. It's just a bunch of Halloween.com. Also, we announced this on Wednesday. So if you go over to our socials and our Discord, there's a QR code you can scan right off of the flyer and promotional poster too. So you can get it through there. It'll take you right to the website as well, because I know that's a bit of a mouthful. It's just a bunch of Halloween. It's a lot to type. So if you want to just scan it as well, you can do it the easy way as well. But yeah, we're about a month away. I mean, so we'll give you guys any additional details, and we'll let you know if we're getting close to a sellout or whatnot. But yeah, we hope to see some of you out there. We know it's going to be tough for some of you who maybe don't have your flights and hotels booked yet, but feel free to reach out on our socials. I can definitely lead you in the right direction to some thoughts. Most of the hotels are completely booked out in Salem, but I know, Steve got a hotel, I think 20 minutes away. That's kind of the best option to do at this point. And it's not so bad. You can also get close to train stations and stuff like that. So if you are really wanting to come and you haven't booked your plans yet, don't panic. Like, I know in a lot of these Salem groups, like, people are like, oh, you're completely fucked. Being a local, I kind of know some ways around it. So yeah, hope to see some of you guys out there for sure. So
just a little piece of advice, having booked myself into a hotel, just do a little bit of due diligence, because like there was a hotel, it was $500 a night, and there was a hotel 3 minutes further that was like $120 a night, and it's the same like rating of a hotel. It's not like I'm not going into a Motel 6 here. I'm going into like a Marriott or something, right? So sometimes just a bit further is really worth the effort. So yeah. But yeah, reach out to us. Joe's like an expert. He'll tell you which towns to go in, which towns to avoid, and all that stuff. So all right, that's
yeah, absolutely.
How do we top all that, man? Like,
I know.
We can end the episode right here.
That was a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
That was a whole segment right there.
3 very fun, very big events, and we're excited to do them all for sure. But if I had to pick one, it's a bunch of Halloween one. We've really put in so much effort and work into that one. We'd really appreciate if you guys could come out to that one and show the cast, because there's already plans for next year. So if it goes off as well as we hope it's going to be, I think this could become an annual thing. So yeah. But it won't unless we get your support and
that's right.
Get a bunch of people out there for it. So, all right. Thanks, guys. All right. Well watched. We ready?
Yeah. So I'll give Joe a little bit of a break here because you did a lot of talking right there. I know you didn't watch anything, but you will tell us about your weekend at a con. I did watch a bunch of stuff, especially that I watched stuff while I was in Florida 2 weeks ago and stuff like that. So I do have 2 movies I want to talk about. The first one is a movie from 2018 that I watched over on Tubi, and it's called Possum. So this movie, very hard to describe without spoiling it, and I don't want to spoil it, but the really like little gist of it is there's a guy, he's carrying a brown bag, and he's got a spider type creature inside the bag, and the movie is kind of about what is that bag, what is that creature, what's the meaning of the whole thing. And that's really the gist of the movie. I really don't want to give more than that because it's an interesting kind of journey into the discovery of what's really going on in this film. It's a very abstract film. It's not one that you're going to go in expecting this big story. There aren't a lot of characters. It's really about this guy discovering the secrets of what's in the brown bag. And at first I was like, wow, this is really slow. There's not a lot going on. It's kind of repeating the same beats over and over. But the movie eventually finds its legs, no pun intended, and it gets really creepy and really interesting. The whatever is in that bag, once it starts showing itself in and starts like actually doing stuff, it's fucking terrifying, to be honest. Very creepy imagery. The score is incredible. It really puts you into kind of the mood of this film. And the main actor, you might recognize him from Mission Impossible. He's in a lot of those. It's Sean Harris. Incredible job as really carrying this film because, like I said, there aren't a lot of characters. It's really him and his dad for the most of it. And then a couple other characters show up very quickly. I don't think this is for everyone. This is one of those, if you really like slow burn, abstract, kind of different films, you'll be into this. But if you're like someone who likes kind of popular films and these big stories, this is probably not for you. So that's Possum that I watched over on Tubi, and I gave it a 3.5 stars out of 5. So the other one I want to talk about is another movie that I watched over on Tubi, and that is 2023's The Hopewell Haunting. So The Hopewell Haunting is a movie about this preacher. He's in a really, really small town in what looks like maybe Tennessee or like one of the kind of southern towns. It's Kentucky. Sorry, it says right there in the thing. It's in Kentucky, and he goes to his parish like he does every morning, and he sees that there are two people sleeping on a bench in his parish. And he's like, what the hell are you doing here? You're not supposed to be in here. And they said that there's something that's scaring them at their house, and they would like the priest to kind of exorcise the house and check it out and make sure that's okay, because there seems to be like a demonic spirit inhabiting their home. So he reluctantly agrees, and he goes to check it out. And the movie is a lot of him slowly, and I mean slowly, discovering what's haunting this place. And he doesn't believe them at first. He just thinks they're grifters and they're trying to kind of mooch off him and get food from the church and to sleep at the church and stuff like that, because their place is kind of a dump. Well, actually, it's really much of a dump, not just kind of a dump. But then once the entity, I guess, I don't want to spoil too much, shows up, and it gets a little bit creepier, and it's pretty terrifying, I'd say. But there's not much of it. So it's a lot of nothing for maybe a minute or two of payoff. The movie is not great, but as far as Tubi, like, it's not in the Tubi original officially, but something I think that people would only see on Tubi. It's not the worst I've ever seen. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. So that's The Hopewell Haunting. Yeah, it's Tubi and Amazon here in Canada. So whichever you could watch it on. All right, Joe, how was
Very nice.
your time at yet another con? Seems every week we're
Yes.
talking about you at a con these days.
Yeah, it's been busy times, but there were 2 straight weekends here right in my home state of Massachusetts, so I had to check them both out. Shout out to Terracon that happened this weekend. So they actually are run by the same people who do Rhode Island Comic Con, so a bit of a bigger company that puts this on. But Terracon actually disappeared for the past 4 years. They took a sort of break, and they decided to finally bring it back. COVID kind of shut them down, and they haven't been back since. So it was great to finally see them back. They went to a new venue this year. They were out in Marlborough, Massachusetts at the Royal Plaza Trade Center. And once again, big shout out to Terracon. They did give us press passes for this one, but I'm giving my honest review on this, even though they did that. And I got to say, They put on a good con, man. I really did enjoy this one. I thought the venue was perfect. I do think they have some kinks to work out as far as line issues and stuff. I mean, Robert Englund was there, and whenever you have Robert Englund, it's never going to be easy with crowd control. But I think that they did the best they could with what they had. You know, this is the first time I had seen Englund on the main floor. Every other con I've gone to, they put him in a separate room. However, there was nowhere else to put him because it's just one big sort of convention floor with like no separate sort of rooms. I will say, so the hotel is up the hill, and that's where they held the panels. So it was that, I guess, the weather luckily was nice. So it was just a nice short walk up to the hotel to do the panels. They also did run shuttles every 5 to 10 minutes to take people up there. But I mean, you're talking less than, a quarter of a mile walk, it's very, very close. So yeah, I mean, so that didn't bother me. I feel like maybe some people would complain about that, but I thought that was fine. The photo ops also set up on the convention floor. But yeah, overall, a great con, I thought. I didn't know how panels would go considering the strike, but honestly, like they did a really good job of sort of not naming specific movies, but you knew exactly, what they were talking about. And fans did ask specific questions and they answered them. I went to the first panel I went to was child actors panel, which was really good. It had Carl from The Walking Dead, Danny, the two Dannys from each Shining, the original one and the miniseries, Edward Furlong, and there was a girl from Walking Dead. I was not familiar with her. Steve, you're the big Walking Dead fan, so you help me out on
Enid from The Walking Dead.
Okay. Yeah. So they had all them there, and I just got up. I asked Danny from The Shining, the original Shining. I just asked him about Kubrick and his excessive takes. I was like, most famously, he did over 100 takes with Shelley and Jack in that stairwell scene. And I was like, what did you think about? Like, did you do a lot with Danny? He's like, yeah. He's like, the same. He's like, but I thought it was normal because he was only 8 years old. He's like, so I just thought that's how movies worked. He's like, I didn't realize how crazy it was until then. And then, yeah, he talked about how Kubrick shielded him. He was very protective over him during the movie. He's like, I had read and I asked him a follow-up question about, they said that he didn't know he was actually filming a horror movie because he was shielded. But he's like, I figured it out pretty quickly. Like, obviously, he's like, what can you really do? But he said, he didn't see it when he was a child, but he remembered going to the movie theaters and watch the trailer. And he said, and it was the blood coming out of the elevator trailer. And he's like, what the hell is this? So that was really cool. I also attended the Mick Foley panel, which was great. I grew up watching wrestling, loved wrestling as a kid. Not so much anymore, but Mick Foley, just an absolute legend. And he was great. He actually did a Mankind impersonation at one point, which was really, really cool. And then I attended Robert Englund's panel, of course, and he's always great. He's amazing. He just talked about his whole career and everything like that. But he was very, very cool. Obviously, I also met him. I got him very first thing on Friday. I only waited 2 hours, which I don't think is too bad considering for him. But I mean, his line was insane all weekend. I also met Mick Foley. He was great. Put on his Mankind mask. Got a good photo with him. Derek Mears. Oh my, Derek Mears was amazing. We talked for like 10 minutes, a good solid 10 minutes, mainly about Friday the 13th. But we also talked about Swamp Thing as well, and just like horror in general, because he is just like a huge horror fan himself. So when I brought the big poster to get signed, we were kind of just discussing about that, and he wanted to be the first person to sign in a different color, so he signed in yellow because I didn't have yellow yet, so we were looking to figure that out. I also met Danny, of course, from The Shining. He was great. We talked about actually him being a teacher because he is actually a professor at a college in Kentucky now, which I thought was really, he's a biology teacher actually. So he went and chased his passion doing that. And I think that was it. I think that was everyone I met. So yeah, I mean, it was a great con. They put it on really well. I really hope. It seemed like they had a really successful weekend. So I think they'll be coming back for sure. So I would definitely recommend people checking it out. They said they might change venues next year, though. So we'll see about that. But yeah, if you're ever in the area, Terracon, I would pick Terracon over Silver Scream between the two. I did over the past 2 weekends, just because they had way more vendors at this one. I think Silver Scream also a great con, but they way outgrown that venue with only 20 vendors. This con probably had about 60 to 70 vendors. So it was more along the lines of sort of a Texas Frightmare weekend style convention. So yeah, both great cons though. Just depends kind of what you're looking for. But yeah, great time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm gonna ask you again because I think you're going to say the same answer as last time, yet it wasn't true this time. Is this the last time that you're meeting Robert Englund, at least for an autograph?
Man, I sure hope so. I thought, yeah, like I thought I was done with him at Texas Frightmare, but then of course I started my poster project. But yeah, I think this is it. I really do. I don't foresee myself starting any additional projects that are going to require a Robert Englund autograph. I mean, I think I have him on 5 items now or something like that. So yeah, I think I'm finally done with him. And we talked Jackie Earle Haley actually, because when I met Jackie Earle Haley, he told me that like him and Englund never like met. And I was like, yeah, I was like, Jackie's telling me you never met. He's like, I met Jackie. I met him like 40 years ago at this place and this place. I was like, that guy's got a fucking memory, man. It's amazing. But yeah, then he was telling me how Jackie Earle Haley's like grandfather was in The Wizard of Oz. I think he was like the Tin Man or the Cowardly Lion or something like that. So
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's an amazing speaker. Like
Yeah.
such an interesting guy. And my other question is, so I've seen the poster in person. It's hella impressive. I know you got a lot of big names right now on that, but who are your top 3 targets of people who are like believable? You know, like I get Jack Nicholson would be amazing, but that's not going to happen. Like, who are your 3 believable targets for your poster?
Yeah. I met Lance Henriksen too, and I had him sign under Pumpkinhead. And dude, that dude's like old, but he's still like completely like with it. And like we talked Pumpkinhead and we also talked Near Dark because I told him like I had never seen Near Dark until we reviewed it for the podcast. And I was like, man, that movie fucking rules. He's like, yeah, he's like, I love that one. But he was telling me like how when he got the script for Pumpkinhead, he's like, this is the stupidest fucking name like in the world. But he's like, the writing was amazing. So I had to do the role, but that guy's awesome. So yeah, like it's funny you mentioned about the Jack because like when I met Danny, like I was like, I'm never gonna meet Jack. I was like, so can you just? I had him sign on like Jack's forehead, like because I was like, it's never gonna happen. So as far as top 3 right now, I would love to add Elvira. It's probably one of the bigger ones that I would like to add on there. I think Dreyfuss would be great because I have Jaws on there, and he's kind of the last big actor that's alive as far as Jaws actors go. And then I think I need to get Brad Dourif on there, of course, from Chucky. And lastly, I guess Linda Blair. You got Reagan on there. I already got Pazuzu, so I'd love to add her as part of it. But other than that, like I'm pretty happy. Obviously, like if any other big actors, like obviously Tim Curry would be amazing, but he never signs in person, so it would have to be a mail away at this point. And yeah, yeah, no, I think that as far as like big names that are attainable, that's probably going to be it. And then obviously like some bigger directors that could be added down the road and stuff. But yeah, we'll leave it at that for now. I'm very, very happy with who I've already put on there. But there are some of like gleaming ones where I looked at. They're not big, they're very attainable, but like Jeffrey Combs, he's like on the poster. I definitely need to add him at a certain point. And then Phantasm is represented. Obviously, of course, Angus Scrimm has passed, but I think I could probably get like Reggie Bannister on there for that or something like that. But I need to add more Leatherfaces too. I don't think I have a Leatherface on here yet. So that's definitely the goal. But I have a fuckload of Jasons and Michaels on there now. So it's pretty cool.
And all the Freddys.
And both Freddys, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Can't wait to see, once you get everything. Have you met everyone that you like from your target list in the past? You met Elvira, Brad Dourif, and...
Yep. Yeah. And now I gotta do it again. But yeah, I mean Jennifer Tilly maybe one day would be obviously like amazing.
Does she do cons anymore? Like, I don't see her doing cons.
She's never done one.
Yeah.
I know cons are always trying to get her and she just has no interest, but never say never. I mean, some of these guests just end up coming on, So like, I never thought you would see like Kiefer Sutherland doing a con, and then he's been doing it lately. So, and who else? Like Katie Seagal is doing them now. Never thought I'd see her doing them. And Alyssa Milano just got announced for her first con ever. Marissa Tomei just did one recently. So I mean, some of these big actors are starting to make their way out there, and maybe Jamie Lee one day will do another one, and I can get her on the
one
poster.
more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Mhm.
All right. So do you want to get into the questions?
Yeah.
All right. You can ask us those questions on social media at the Horror Squad Podcast, or of course on our Discord, which is where the majority of the people ask their questions. Amazing community in there, always talking about horror and all sorts of other stuff. First question is from Lil 3 Cord Me, that's Shaylin. So this is Marry, Fuck, Kill, but with a twist. Instead of killing the last one, you have to hire them for a job. Your pick can be something like a mechanic, personal chef, personal assistant, someone who's working directly for you. And the 3 nominees are Leatherface, Freddy Krueger, and Michael Myers.
Okay, well, I'm gonna marry Michael because he's quiet. He just seems like he would go with the flow. I think we'd have a good time together. Then I'm fucking Freddy because he definitely would be a great time. Like I feel like in that department. And then so instead of killing, I'm hiring Leatherface for something, right?
Yep.
So I mean, Leatherface is my cook, 100%. Guy can cook up some good food, good barbecue.
Hey, he's also a good seamstress, right? He can
Yes.
he can make your cosplay costumes for you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also gonna marry Michael because he's quiet, kind of easy to deal with. I'm gonna fuck Leatherface. I feel like he'd be a good one time, Freddy would just be too annoying, I think. So I'm gonna have to hire Freddy though, and I'm gonna just make him my gardener, kind of like Edward Scissorhands, but he'd probably make stuff that's more horror. Edward Scissorhands makes like dinosaurs and shit like that. I think Freddy would make some pretty spooky shit to put in my yard. So I think that would be my pick. Her next question. Oh, this is an old school question. What's the food pairing for tonight?
Ooh, that's a good one. It has to be something. Oh man, food pairing for the Nun 2.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got, Steve? You got anything?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
I prepped all the questions this week because they were
The Eucharist. The Eucharist
right.
wine.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going with a French Canadian menu because we got, of course, Maurice, who is one of the stars of this movie, and of course, I'm half French Canadian, so definitely gonna do that. So my first one is going to be tourtière, which is French Canadian for meat pie. Then, of course, we have to have a poutine on the side. Very important. Any French Canadian knows that. And also, as another choice, smoked meat sandwich, because that is something that's very famous out of the city I come from, Montreal. And finally, for dessert, tarte au sucre, which is sugar pie. So that would be my menu for the Nun 2. What about you?
What is it? What is sugar pie? Like what is
It's basically it's hard to describe. It's like basically fucking inserting sugar to your veins. It's a pie. Like it looks like a pie.
Yeah.
No top on it. At least the ones that my grandmother used to make. And it's like pure fucking sugar. It's like brown sugar.
I mean, it looks good. Is it like a custard?
Kind of, yeah.
Under it?
Yeah. If ever you come to Canada, I'll have you taste it. It's very good, but it
looks good.
It's one piece. It's not like you ain't eating more than one piece.
Right.
Yeah, nice. Then French ladies love that shit. Like my grandmother and her sisters are all over the sugar pie at like Christmas dinner and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You got anything to add to our menu for the Nun?
No, I mean that sounds perfect. I like I said, I guess add a little wine in there. I feel maybe it would be good. So, but other than that, no, man, I don't know. Maybe something charred. Since we the beginning of the movie, that dude
right
caught on fire.
Yeah, he definitely did. Her final question: favorite nun of any movie you've ever seen. So, what are some of your favorite nun or nun movies that you can think of?
Man, there's not many good ones, honestly. Man, I watched something. Well, God, I watched something a couple years ago. Go ahead, Steve. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up because it was actually like really good, and it was kind of a famous director. I definitely talked about it on the podcast on What Watched, but I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to pull it up. But as far as that, I mean, I think
it was about a nun, like a movie about a nun, or just had a nun character in it.
They were in a nunnery, like
the
movie took place like in like sort of a women like you
Like
know, getting
content.
ready. Yeah, sort of. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was good. It was very good, but I can't remember the name. It almost cracked my top 10 from what I remember, but it was pretty solid. But other than that, yeah, man, like there's a lot of great religious horror movies, but as far as like movies that just deal with sort of nuns and convents, I feel like, you know, this is probably the best we're getting right now with these nun movies. Yeah.
So obviously, Valak is the best nun to me. Like we'll talk about that during the review from the Nun and the Conjuring 2. Other notable nuns in movies, both horror and non-horror. Of course, you have Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act, classic nun movie right there. You have Dead Man Walking, which is not horror, but I mean it toes the line because it's about someone about to be executed. So Susan Sarandon plays the nun in that one. You have probably one of the creepiest nuns ever, in a way. It's the nun in Problem Child. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but he starts off as like a kid who's about to be adopted, and he's run by nuns, and they're absolutely awful. Probably one of the best scares of all time in horror history, in my opinion, is from a nun, and that is The Exorcist 3 with the shears. Just absolutely terrifying. And finally, of course, cannot go on without mentioning this one: New Nuns with big guns, which is apparently a thing. I've never seen it. I can't find it anywhere, but I have to find it eventually. It's on my watch list. So that would be, I think, the nuns that I would think of anyway. So thank you, Shaylin, for that. Next one comes to us from an old friend of ours. That is Jedi Mind 1207, Mondo from the Let's XP Geek Gaming podcast. He says, what horror franchises have the worst sequels?
Amityville
Man,
Horror?
yeah, those are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. There hasn't been many good ones after the first. Yeah. I mean, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street has some stinkers, but so does Texas Chainsaw and Halloween. I think they
Mhm.
all do, but they also have some great ones. So yeah, I think I can't think of a good one after Amityville 1. And Amityville, honestly, the whole Amityville franchise is probably overrated.
Oh God,
I'm
they
going,
get worse and worse. So,
I'm going Hellraiser. I don't like the first one, but it's still passable. But boy, even the new one is like, eesh.
yeah, Evil Bong. Like the first one is okay.
I mean, the first one's called Evil Bong, so what do you? What do
I
you
know,
expect?
but the first one isn't that bad. If they'd kept in that kind of horror territory, I think it could have been decent, but they just abandoned the horror completely and it becomes stoner comedy. And I say the word comedy very loosely in this situation. But I think Amityville is probably the best answer because holy shit, did that fucking franchise go off the rails? And I don't know, it must be a public domain thing, right? Like the amount of movies that
It's got to be, yeah.
it's like 5 or 6 of them every year. It's ridiculous. All right, so the next one, still from Mondo. Who wins in a battle between Valak and Pazuzu?
Ooh, I mean, they're both fucking powerful demons. It's not. It's a pretty fair fight, man. It's a pretty fair fight. I guess I'm gonna go Valak just because we've seen what she can actually do, whereas Pazuzu was kind of tied down the majority of the movie, and we never saw, I guess, the full power of Pazuzu. So I guess I'll go Valak just based on that.
I go with that one because we've seen what she can do, right? And I mean, Valak was defeated by. I mean, who would you? Let's flip it. Who would you want to be on your demon fighting side? Would you rather have the Nun crew or the Exorcist crew from the beginning, from the first Exorcist?
Probably the Nun crew for me. The Exorcist crew, they they take a long time to get there. I mean, Father Karras is cool, but it's really all in like the span of a couple hours, And I don't know. I think these ones they're going to fucking town to town. They're Indiana Jonesing, like relics and shit. They're putting in the work, The other two just fucking went to the room and read a Bible.
Or Russell Crowe. I'll add a third.
I was gonna say that was my answer. I was gonna say neither. Give me Russell Crowe on a
Vespa. We still need to establish, did he ride that fucking scooter across all of Europe?
He did. That's his superpower, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I agree. I think Valak is stronger because we don't really see what Pazuzu can do. I mean, Valak is like destroying full ass churches, and Pazuzu got stopped by bed sheets.
She can open a drawer though.
Oh yeah, that's
So once though, only once.
why? Yeah, exactly. So it's I think Valak has it, but just based off us not seeing the true power of Pazuzu. Next series of questions come to us from Eric. Unpopular opinion: what hated movie really isn't that bad?
Ooh, hated movie.
Well, let's establish like what is a universally hated movie, I guess, right? Like it's
Nightmare on Elm
tough.
Street remake.
Yeah, it's
I think
not that bad.
we all enjoyed it for what it was, and
Yeah, it's
it's
not.
largely hated.
Yeah, agreed. That's a good one.
Yeah, I put 3 of them because I looked at Rotten Tomatoes and like the lowest ranked horror movies. The 3 that I didn't agree with, because I think they're actually pretty good. The Devil Inside has a 6% Rotten Tomato score, and I think the movie's actually pretty good. I mean, it's not great, but it's like pretty good. Species 2. I like Species 2. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It had a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that was ridiculous. The whole series, I think, is great. And one that's very divisive, but people really seem to hate, and I don't get it. I think it's also a pretty good movie, is It Follows. It seems that people really hate that movie, and I don't really understand why.
I hate that movie.
I know.
We
I
should
saw
cover
your
it though,
score.
for sure.
I
Yeah.
need to revisit it.
I think isn't that what majority liked though? I thought it was the
I feel
opposite.
like it.
Majority
I feel
liked
like it
yeah.
was majority like too. Like when
Yeah.
it came out, I thought it got a lot of buzz. I haven't heard anything from it recently though. So
From all you It Follows people, Second Sight just put out a really amazing special edition set with like a hardcover book and everything. So go pick that up if you like the movie.
sweet, sweet. I'll throw out Blair Witch 2 because I always feel like that movie is. I love it. I don't know
Awful.
why. I just feel like it's.
I thought
I
it
feel
was
like,
bad.
I feel like it's very smart for what they did, like
Mm.
for changing it up. But I know I'm in the
You're-
massive minority on that one.
Definitely. His next question, conversely, what loved movie isn't as good as people make it out to be?
Hellraiser.
I've seen a lot of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 love recently,
Oh,
and
so
I
good,
just-
man.
I mean,
Sucks you
it's
don't
all
like it.
right. It's no, I mean it's okay, but I don't understand like the massive appeal.
Yeah, maybe that's one that's gonna. Well, I don't know, because you've always liked Halloween 3 along with me, so that's not a
Mhm.
flip. But everyone flipped on Halloween 3. Like, where were you guys fucking 10 years ago? You
Right.
liars?
Right.
Seriously.
For real.
But no, I think Phantasm. I know we talked about it, but Phantasm just
Yeah.
doesn't do it for me. And I see a lot of people liking it. And the tall man's cool, and I like the spear and everything that like stabs people in the head. But man, it's like a really strong TV movie in a bad way vibe for that movie.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's like a big problem in general is people remember movies they watch as a kid, but only remember like the iconic scenes or like in certain scenes, and then they don't remember the rest of the movie. And it's like, oh yeah, that movie's fucking amazing. And you're like, have you watched it recently? It's
Right.
not as good as you remember.
God, I hate when that happens. The 3 I wrote down, one of them, which I'm not going to get on this train again, but fucking Skinamarink.
Get on that train, playa.
I just don't get it. I don't fucking get it.
Hey,
You know?
if someone loses in fantasy football, someone's watching that movie as
I
a
know.
punishment, and it's gonna be me. I'm 0-2.
Me too. So
Shoot, man.
yeah, I know nothing about fucking football. So God, I hope not. The other one is I Know What You Did Last Summer, like super beloved movie. I don't think is that good. We reviewed it, so you can check out our score there. And another one we reviewed, which I fucking really don't get, and I think Todd has my back on this one. New Nightmare. God, I just
Oh,
don't get
boy.
it. It's I don't like it at all. But it seems to be pretty loved within the community.
And no, if I don't know what's the Rotten Tomatoes on that one. I feel like that
Not
one
sure,
kind of
but-
got shit on, but I'm all for it. I'm a big New Nightmare lover, though. Go back in the
I
store
know.
episode if you want to hear it. You can hear Steven Todd shit on it and me love on it.
Exactly. So the next question, I'm going to ask it, but I don't want you guys to answer because we're going to talk about it during the review. It's actually one of my last questions during the review is where would you like to see the Conjuring universe go from here? Based off the end credit teaser, that's the discussion I want to have is where does it go from here? So we'll shelve that one. And Eric's final question, pick a horror icon to face off against Ed and Lorraine Warren. Who wins the battle?
Ooh. Well, let's see. It's got to be something supernatural, right?
While you're
Mm.
thinking, Rotten Tomatoes has Wes Craven's New Nightmare have a 66 audience score and a 79 tomato score.
Wow, that's pretty high.
not
A lot
bad at
higher
all,
than I
yeah.
expected. Yeah. All right. Well, can Ed and Lorraine team up with Vespa riding Russell Crowe though? That's because then they'll defeat anyone. Really. Let's go Ed and Lorraine versus Pazuzu. Perfect.
Yeah, crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I think you gotta go. You gotta be supernatural, right? So you can't be fighting Leatherface or something. I think Leatherface would stomp him out. Let's go Freddy. Let's see what they do against Freddy in the dream world.
Yeah, that's exactly the answer I had as well. I think Freddy would be fun. Go after the Dream Demon and see what they can do. And I think Freddy would probably defeat them, but who knows, man? Freddy, like, he's both super powerful, but also gets defeated by like
By love, in part
nothing.
two.
Yeah, that fucking mirror, and like who knows? Like you never know.
D&D
with Freddy.
kids in part 3.
yeah, exactly. So who knows how powerful he actually is? Very inconsistent. So that would be my answer there. And that was the final question we had. Thank you everyone for the question. Could not do this segment without you. And now time for our main review.
All right, The Nun 2, currently out in theaters, 2023 release, obviously, directed by Mr. Michael Chavez, the greatest evil in the Conjuring universe. How you guys feel about that tagline? That's like a kind of patting your old back on that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I just have to mention Michael Chavez. Do you know what other films he directed?
No, but it's probably like a
It's
kid movie.
all a bunch of bullshit from what I remember.
The Conjuring 3 and La Llorona.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
The two worst movies in the Conjuring franchise.
Okay, cool. That's we'll talk about it later, but like I'm like, this is like the Conjuring 3 with the super dad going after people. But anyway, 4 years after the events at the Abbey of St. Carta, Sister Irene returns once again and comes face to face with the demonic force Valak, the nun. Okay, so the start of the film, we are in a church in Europe, and there's some tomfoolery going on. There's some sneaky stuff. There's some weird stuff. There's a young altar boy who's putting away some wine. It shatters. So he runs to get the father. He's like, Father, someone in the church. He's like, where? And they heard a loud bang. They start creeping around, asking, is anyone here? Get out of here, whatever. They go in the main part of the church, and the father is attacked, and he levitates and then just bursts into flames, which is a really freaking cool scene. And then we see a mysterious figure walking away. Like, who's this? Uh-oh, it's the guy from the first movie, Steve's favorite, French Canadian. What's his fucking name? Maurice. Yep. So we go a little bit further in the film, and Irene, played by Thaisa Farmiga, she's in a new like boarding house kind of place, taking care of kids, teaching school, stuff like that. And she is approached by, I guess, a cardinal in the church, whatever, saying, hey, we need your help. The father that helped you in the first film, he passed away, so you're the only one that has experience with demons. We see a trend where churches are being attacked by across Europe, and they're like making their way to this certain point. Can you help out? And she's enlisted. And then we learn that Maurice, from the first film, French Canadian, Valak kind of possessed him at the end of the first film, and now is using him as a vessel to just go around on her murderous rampage. And she is trying, or the nun is trying to get a religious artifact. I forget who it is, the eyes of some saint, so she can become Saint Lucy, so she can become all powerful or something like that. And of course, the artifact is in this boarding school, and we follow around these characters as scary stuff happens. And that is it. Not a huge fan of the first one. I know Steve rewatched this. Give us your thoughts. But the original was really cool as far as the sound, the sets, cinematography, stuff like that. That was all effective. It's just the story was a little bit bland, a little bit too convenient. And I think they doubled down with part 2. Unfortunately, I was bored mostly throughout this film, apart from the beginning, the end, and a couple stuff sprinkled here and there. But overall, I think this was a miss for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the nun character, and I thought the first one was like fine, but definitely lacking in some ways. Like I was talking to Steve, I think off the air before we got on. I was like, I think I was the most positive on the first nun movie when we did review it a while back. But I was excited to go see this part 2 here. And actually, I don't even think I mentioned it on the podcast, but Sam and I got to go to a little advanced screening where they gave us some free merch and stuff. So that was already pretty cool to start off. So I was really pumped to go watch this. And I do think it's an improvement over the first movie, but not by much, honestly. There were times when I was watching this, where it felt like almost the exact same movie. I feel like they didn't I understand it's almost like exact sequel, basically almost directly a continuation, but I don't know. I just feel like they kind of I feel like they tried to go, I wish they went like somewhere else with it rather than what they did, because it just felt like I was watching the same movie at times. I do think, I mean, I love Taissa Farmiga's character. I love her as an actress, and I think she's good here. I think she does carry the movie in a lot of ways. Now, I think her sidekick character was completely unnecessary here. The new actress they bring in, Storm Reed, who was Sister Deborah. You know, I understand like why they put her in there, because she's sort of the one struggling with her faith and whatnot. But like, I felt like she was a really throwaway character, and I don't think she was necessary at all, honestly. And yeah, I mean, then like all the other sort of side plots, just I feel like they weren't important enough or didn't really go anywhere great. You know, when the nun's on screen, she's great. And we didn't have enough. We didn't get enough of her though. And it was just too few and far between. And then we started focusing on it, at times, honestly, it felt like watching Annabelle Creation, where like they're bringing in like different things. The nun, not Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, when they start bringing like Annabelle's able to like control other things. So they do that with the nun this time, where she's introduced. We're introduced to the goat, I guess I'll call it, which was cool. But it's like, do we really need that? Or can we just focus on the nun? She's creepy and scary enough. Is bringing in this alternative stuff necessary? Maybe, I don't know, because like I do think I agree with Todd. Like I think that dude smiling there and whatever was fucking creepy. I did enjoy the goat character. I thought it was pretty creepy at times. But I feel like there were just a lot of ideas thrown out there and not enough focus on just the nun character. So I think it was an okay movie, but definitely not anything that will crack the top 10. And I still think we're waiting on this nun character to reach her full potential.
Yeah, so like Todd mentioned, I rewatched both The Conjuring 2 and The Nun before this movie because I didn't know how much I needed to know to go into this movie. And turns out quite a bit for The Nun anyway, not so much for The Conjuring 2. And yeah, The Nun is interesting because I didn't love it the first time. I remember being very disappointed by it. But upon rewatching it, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. The atmosphere, the sound cues, like the score, every time the nun comes, there's this like hum that just like builds anticipation for her presence. It was actually a really like good film as far as a horror film goes. You know, the story was a bit weak and there are plot points that you could see coming a mile away, things like the bells on the tombstones and certain things that you're like, okay, this is being telegraphed really really early and stuff like that. But I did enjoy it overall, so that I definitely raised my score. I gave it a 3.5, whereas I probably would have given it a 2.5 had I had Letterboxd at that time. So a full extra star on that one. And as far as The Nun 2 goes, I actually really dug it. I had a lot of fun watching this movie for a lot of reasons. One, it marries a lot of my favorite things in horror. It marries possession, religious horror. It's got one of my favorite characters in The Nun. It's got like investigation horror, which I really dig. There's just a lot going on here. Fucking religious relics. I love religious relics. It's like something I'm obsessed with, and I'm not even religious, which is ironic. I just love the idea of them. And I like the setting. The scares were like almost relentless. Now they can't come from all over the place and maybe a little random. Like it doesn't flow as well as it should. But there are a lot of scenes that I'm like, okay, this is really cool. And I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing on screen here. I do agree that I wish the nun was in it more. I read that she's only in it 2 minutes and 57 seconds total, which is crazy because the movie is called The Nun. And I get that you don't want to show her too much, you know, because if you show her too much, it kind of loses its effectiveness. But I think that's a little, you know, that's a little too much on the kind of small side. I think you should see her more because when she does show up, holy fuck, she's a terrifying character. Like just her doing nothing in the background. There's one scene, and I don't remember exactly which scene it was, but she's only like in the background, kind of inside a cubby, and you could just kind of see her face a little bit. Terrifying. She's not doing anything, she's just standing there. And I was getting chills. I absolutely loved it. Now I get what Joe is saying with the various incarnations that Valak takes over the story. This is consistent with the rest of the series because in The Conjuring 2, she does become the Crooked Man, and she also manifests as Valak's true form right at the end when the nun is kind of defeated in that movie. So I guess it's consistent, but I agree. Like, you have a movie called The Nun, we should see more of The Nun. But the idea of Valak is that it represents what you fear. So when Sister Irene is being haunted, then it's the nun because she's a nun. Whereas the kid is scared of the goat and the woman is scared of the boy. So it makes sense in the sense that Valak takes the form that will scare you the most. So that's why it's really kind of shown towards Sister Irene and not the other characters. And so it makes sense, right? But I agree, I would still like to see more Nun. But overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I don't know if it'll stay on it's on my top 10 now. It's like number 8. I don't think it'll stay there. I hope not. I hope like Saw and Exorcist and stuff take it away, but still very solid film for me. So a question for you guys. What were the scariest scenes for you in this movie? Because she does do quite a few. There are a lot of like scare scenes in this one, both kind of anticipatory scares and like jump scares. So which ones were your favorites?
Shoot, I loved the scene where Irene goes back to the church and finds the burnt priest, and he's in it for a microsecond, but that scene was so cool. And that's what I love about this series, is that they always do something simple that normally it's not like a jump. There's plenty of jump scares in these, but there's plenty of stuff too, which I think is more effective, where it's like, oh fuck, did I see that? You know what I mean? And like it registers and then it's gone. You're like, gosh damn. So I think that's the most effective scene in this film. Unfortunately, it's a little bit like if you blinked, you would miss that for sure.
Yeah, my absolute favorite scene in probably this entire movie is actually a couple. I mean, there's some great stuff in here. It's just too bad it kind of gets bogged down in the middle by like a whole lot of nothing happening. But one of my absolute favorite scenes for sure is when the girl kind of opens the door and it's sort of the hallway, and the nun's at the end of the hallway there. I mean, that is just great tension, great creepiness, and I fucking loved that scene. I also really enjoyed most of the scenes in that sort of abandoned part of the convent or whatever it is, or in the school there. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on in there. It's kind of it has that whole sort of creepy atmosphere going for it, but there's a scene in particular there where obviously the sheet is kind of over the sort of statue there, and that was really cool as well. And I loved the goat, man. I fucking it, like at times it looked a little goofy, but at other times it looked fucking really fucking creepy, especially when it was like running around at that one point. I really love the inclusion of that because I love goats. So
I like the goat man too, and I really like the scene where the head mistress or whatever is talking and following her son around, which is sad by itself. And then knowing Valak is fucking around with her and this creepy kid. Creepy kids in movies and horror movies are always creepy. So he was doubly effective in like the dark, like sneaking around and shit. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. I love the amount of times that you're not quite sure if the nun is back there, but she kind of is, because she's so faint in like right behind the characters that it's like almost hard to see. So it's like, is she there? Is she not there? Is it actually her? Is it like just burning in the wall? Or it's like they do a really clever job of like the nun could be anywhere, at any time in this movie. And I'm sure there are points where I didn't see her, where she was probably there, because there's a scene I remember vividly, and I don't remember quite where it is in the movie, where she's just there in the background. And whether you see her or not is really up to you. It's not, she doesn't jump scare, she doesn't do anything, she's just standing there. It's so fucking creepy, and they use her very effectively, I think, in this movie. Now I wish I hadn't seen the trailer, because some of the better, I guess, scenes are scenes they showed in the trailer, but still very effective. Like that magazine scene, it's just like such a slow build into the nun forming with the magazines. Apparently that was a horrible fucking bitch to shoot too. Director said that had he known how much work it would be, he would not do it again. But it was really a cool scene and effective.
Switching gears, has Maurice sealed the deal with the mom before this movie happened? Are they already sneaking around the side?
I don't think so. No, no, I don't think they were. I think they like maybe had a crush on sort of a chemistry there, but no, I don't think they were messing around beforehand.
Because he's playing the long game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
First, yeah.
Trying to get, right. Trying to become friends with the daughter and stuff.
Which I always hate bullies in horror movies.
Yeah.
and those 3 girls deserve something, right?
Right. Do you? I mean, did you like Maurice coming back in this? Like, did you think it was like?
Well,
I guess it makes sense, right? Because like he was possessed, right, in the first movie, so it was kind of the reason the nun ended up at this school, right? Like, so I guess you kind of had to if you were going to go with this storyline.
yeah, like that's how the first one ends, right? Is that you see that he was possessed, and you see the video of the Warrens exercising him, which I'm gonna bring back later when we get to the end credit scene, because there's a glitch in the timeline here, which I'm gonna try to figure out with you guys. But I like the character enough that I was fine with him coming back. Like he's a good character. He seems like a really good dude. You know, his heart's in the right place.
He was likable.
Yeah, he's likable. Absolute fucking horrible French Canadian accent. Like not at all fucking French Canadian. I don't know what the fuck, why they even bothered making him French Canadian if you're not going to even
He's
try.
a French native. What are you talking about?
He's from Belgium. That's like
I know. I just pulled that out my ass.
yeah. It's no, just don't do it if you're not going to be able to pull it off. But likable character nonetheless. So I it was a good way to get the characters back together and to also to get Valak kind of into this story. So I wasn't mad at it. Now, what was kind of disappointing, having rewatched The Nun, is the main character of The Nun, other than Tessa Farmiga's character, is the priest, who they basically just write off, being like, he died, cholera. Like, great. This character I followed through the whole first film, just they really mudded him. So
I think although I liked the first scene a lot, I think a better scene would have been him Valak killing the priest. That would have been fucking cool. Like, kind of like a Scream does, have a popular character and then kill him off in the opening scene. I think that would have been really effective and kind of a missed opportunity.
Now, I shout out to Mondo who brought this up in our Discord, and I didn't even really think about it at the time, and I don't know if it's ever been discussed in the entire Conjuring universe, but he said that he thinks, and they sort of hint at it at points, is that Thaissa's character has a potential connection to Lorraine Warren, that we're at some point we're going to find out that they have sort of a lineage, a family lineage together, which makes absolute sense, right? Like, but I just like, has that come out yet, or is that just sort of a theory out there?
I think that's where the whole Descendants of St. Lucie comes into play.
Yeah.
Because and to answer your question, Todd, the reason that they didn't kill that priest specifically is, well, probably because they couldn't get the actor back, but the actual movie reason is that she was hunting down the Descendants of St. Lucie. That's what she's going from place to place. So it would have been weird that both Sister Irene and the priest were descendants of St. Lucie.
It could have been a side revenge, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it could have been for sure. But yeah, I think that's where they're heading, is that you're going to find out that they're related. And that's why Valak was also attacking Lorraine Warren in The Conjuring 2.
So explain the mid-credit scene where they talk on the phone, because I don't remember anything about part 2 or part 1 of The Nun.
Okay, so, and I know Joe didn't see it, so it's really nothing. It's like 2 minutes into the credits. Basically, they get a phone call. The Warrens, like played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, they get a phone call from someone that says that there's a very important case that they need to work on. So, and they leave it at that. There's a few things that could be. Number one, that could set up Conjuring: The Last Rite, which is the last Conjuring movie that they're supposed to make, which we know nothing about, so we don't know. Maybe they're setting that up. Or alternatively, and this is what I was trying to get at, and I haven't read this, I'm just kind of making this up on my own. Presumably, Maurice is still possessed at the end of The Nun 2, because the exorcism scene that we see at the end of the first Nun happens right before the first Conjuring movie, because you see the woman from the first Conjuring in the audience, which is where she meets the Warrens and tells her about her problem. So that could not have happened yet in this storyline. And we clearly see that Maurice is possessed and being filmed, being exorcised by the Warrens. So I guess that's where the stories are going to come together. So I'm wondering if the phone call is them saying, I have a case, and the case is actually Maurice. And they're going to merge the Nun and the Conjuring series into one. So I don't know what their intentions are with Conjuring 4. I thought it was to finish the story, like maybe Ed's death, because he does die considerably before Lorraine in real life, or if they're just merging their two franchises together and making it a prequel to the first Conjuring by being like one of their first big cases. So I'm not sure. That's kind of where I'm at.
I like it, right? Like merging these two franchises together makes a lot of sense. It's just weird that they would, if they're going to finish it off, why finish it off as a prequel? But yeah, it is kind of a long. They've been playing sort of the long game, I guess, right? Because I mean, that Marie, that same, is it the same exact actor?
Well, you don't
Like,
see him in The Conjuring, so they added that scene in
okay,
The Nun,
after the fact.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So okay, that was always the thought process. Gotcha. I mean, I don't hate it. Like, I think it'd be kind of a cool thing to kind of. I mean, but they've already battled Valak.
But
right?
here's my issue with it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to get to. Having rewatched The Conjuring 2 now, they don't know about Valak's existence at the beginning of The Conjuring 2. It's a vision that starts happening at the Amityville house that she starts getting haunted by Valak and then leads into the events of Conjuring 2. And she doesn't even know Valak's name, right? That's a big part of The Conjuring 2 is knowing the demon's name. She figures it out by the end of the movie, and that's how she eventually defeats.
She doesn't spell it out in the beginning of the movie in Conjuring 2?
She does, but she doesn't know because she's just like scribbling on a Bible, and she remembers later that she had done that.
Right.
She doesn't
actually... that's right. They don't even know the name. They figure out the name.
That's
towards
the
end of the movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how they defeat Valak is by knowing its name and like.
Right.
Yeah. So if they don't know Valak and they've never seen Valak before the Amityville situation, how can they merge those stories? Because Maurice is, so who's
hypnotism. Like
Insidious,
they'll all forget it at the end. That's how they'll do it. Like Lorraine will hypnotize everyone or something, but that wouldn't explain how she wouldn't remember either. But yeah, I mean, why do I feel like the Nun movies like take place like 100 years before The Conjuring though?
Well, it's the 50s and The Conjuring in the 70s.
Okay.
So it's 20 years.
The Nun number 1 feels like it's 100 years in the future.
Yeah, right. This one felt a little more current.
Because it's in Romania. They actually specifically talk about that, saying like this is old country. It's not like where you're used to. So
yeah. Okay.
I think they need you in the writers' room, Steve. You're bringing up good points here. How they going to tie it all together?
Yeah, I think that if I were to do this franchise, and this is kind of goes to Eric's question, what would you do with the Conjuring franchise? Is I would bring the franchises together, but post Conjuring 2. So I would have it that they did exorcise Maurice, but not knowing like what demon they were dealing with at that time. And Irene sees that there's Valak is still not defeated, and she goes to the only other person who has defeated Valak, and that would be her, and they kind of deal with her at the end as the final big bad for the Conjuring. Is that let's join our forces together and defeat Valak once and for all.
After Valak kills Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, I think that would be the move, because that would kind of set up Valak as really powerful, and finally kind of complete the job they were supposed to do in Conjuring 2 with the tree. That's, she shows him Patrick Wilson dying, and that would explain also in reality that Ed Warren did die before, and that would make the two Farmiga sisters kind of the force behind Conjuring 4, The Last Rite, which is like the perfect title for both a religious nun movie and the final Conjuring movie.
I like it. How did Ed Warren die in real life? Heart attack?
Like cancer. I don't know. Nothing exciting. Yeah. But you can totally make it.
Patrick dies off screen in the first 10 minutes of the film from a heart attack.
No, but it could also be that. Yeah, I mean, Valak could like put the sickness on him.
Scares him to death.
Yeah, something. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking a shit and it just comes out of fucking the towel rack.
Yeah, but it does bring back the Conjuring 2, because when Joe, you had mentioned you like the scene where she opens the door, it's Valak at the end of the hallway. That's taken straight out of the Conjuring 2, because that's the very ugly fucking flower like decor that the Warrens have in their house. So they're starting to merge those franchises together. So she's seeing vision, or who was it? It was the kid, that saw that. Yeah, I think it's the
The-
kid, the little girl that
The little
sees
girl.
The little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so she's seeing part of the Conjuring. So I think they're starting to meld those worlds together.
I gotta say, I think the nun plays better as a side character because I don't know if it's just the filmmaking. I don't know.
I think it's the
misthrows or whatever.
I think it's the writing. Like I think all these side projects are never as good as granted Conjuring 3 wasn't that great, but I just feel like they're not putting as much detail and attention on these sort of side movies as they are like the main Conjuring movies.
Yeah, I mean, because Conjuring 2 is fucking amazing.
No, they know they're going to make money, so they're just trying to kind of churn out these side projects, and
Yeah.
they're going to do well. I mean, the
Are we
Nun's
getting a
killing it.
Goatman movie?
I would be okay with that. But I mean, the Nun 2 is killing it. It did really, really, really well in theaters. Yeah. And I think it's still doing well. I mean, obviously it's the time of the year too, right? You release these movies start getting around spooky season, they're gonna do well. But yeah, I mean, so
What's-
like, I mean, are we gonna get a Nun 3 or do you think it's gonna be right into the last right, Steve?
I don't know. I heard there's issues with Bonnie Aaron's now.
Right. Yeah. I
over
mean, that's the
residuals
other
and,
big thing. Yeah. The whole lawsuit going on. So
pay
you
the
know,
lady.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, they might, but also you could
You can
just
easily
get
like
you
switch
can
her.
easily
right?
get another actress
Yeah.
in there. Yeah. So I think that's probably the route they're gonna go with, unless they come to some agreement, on using her likeness and not getting money for it. So yeah, I mean it'd be a shame, but I think she's very at the same time replaceable. It's not like she talks or anything, and I think you could find an actress that looks pretty similar to
She
her.
could do cons to the end of time as well. and get
Yeah,
money.
right, exactly.
But still, you did the work, get paid for it. But
Yeah, of
you know,
course,
you,
yeah.
you know what I don't like, and it makes sense that you guys connected Conjuring 3 and this guy being the same director, is that like Conjuring 3, Ed Warren is like Jack Torrance going crazy with Sledgehammer, and then this one you have Maurice, the man fucking going nuts again. Like let's do something else. Like it's back-to-back films with the same like final arc of the guy being unstoppable and we have to take him out. I don't really like it.
Yeah, for sure. And something else that I keep wanting to see, and I get why they're not doing it, but at the same time, I still want to see it, is like I wish that the Valak took possession of that form by killing a real nun. And that's where Bonnie Aarons can come in kind of as herself and have like a really cool story is how she killed her and took her soul so that she's using kind of that manifestation going forward. I thought every time they show a flashback, I'm like, oh, here it is. We're gonna get that like nun backstory, how she got that specific body. But
I would like to see them bring the Nun into current times. I think she's a fucking
with a bunch of YouTubers,
a
summoning
demon.
her.
Well, maybe not like current, maybe
TikTok.
like, but I don't know, like take her out of like old country Romania. I think like she was fucking creepy in the Conjuring movies, and she wasn't in like the old times. Like just her walking around sort of a current room, not a current, but like a 70s style room. Like that was fucking scary. Like she doesn't need the already gothic Romanian backdrop to make her scary, which I think is what they think they need to do. But she was scariest in Conjuring 2 when she was just in normal settings.
Yeah,
so
imagine seeing her at like
yeah.
a playground, man.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
at night or something. Like
absolutely. Yeah.
Or like at a school, a modern school.
Yeah.
Kids seeing her in like elementary school, that'd be terrifying. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
And but all that could be in the Conjuring 4, right? If they
Sure.
do merge these things together. Ed dies in the 90s, so if it's set in the mid 90s, like he dies, yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
When he's like 80 years old.
Still got it. He's like 70 something.
I don't think he was that old back then. I don't know, because Lorraine just died recently within the past few years.
I missed my chance to meet her.
She wasn't that old. She was like old, but she wasn't like 100.
Right.
Yeah. Do we even know what's happened to this Warren Museum or their basement thing? It's still a thing.
Yeah.
Can you go? Can you go visit it, or is it just like cut off?
I think you can. It's the son-in-law that runs it now.
Yeah.
And I think he still does like special dinners.
Would you guys do it?
I thought about it. So my wife and I were talking about doing the one with Lorraine Warren, where they take out Annabelle and like show it. You don't touch Annabelle, but they take her out of the case and they kind of show you, and you have a dinner. It's like 30 people, and we were really considering going, and then we did the classic mistake of maybe not this year because we were moving that year, maybe next year, and then she died. So
I thought about it too, but wasn't it? It was like $600 a person or something, wasn't it? Something crazy like that. Yeah.
it would have been a great like
It would have been a good story.
right?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah.
Steve would be the
Yeah.
one where they're like, okay, let's go to the other room. Everyone stay with us. And he fucking sneaks back
Yeah.
and he tickles the fucking doll's hair and then he's
Definitely.
possessed.
Yeah. And then I
And
get
then we're doing a pod with fucking ghosts.
yeah. Yeah.
I have enough, like, I don't know what the term is, but enough to be like, no, that's a bad idea. Like going to that haunted, quote unquote, haunted basement tour thing. Nah.
Yeah, I know for a while they were kind of toting around the, I don't know, what do you call it? The massive, like that massive cabinet in The Conjuring
Glass
where
case thing?
the thing is like on top of it and jumps down. Like what
Oh
they
yeah,
base that
really?
off of. Yeah, they have that like piece of furniture
It's cool.
from the real story, and I know they were kind of bringing that around to some cons. I
Nice.
never got to see it, but yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, all right. What else? Anything? We reviewing this? We rating it? We've
Yeah,
already been
no,
reviewing it. We rating
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I think that's all I had for it. It's interesting. Yeah, I really loved it. So
I mean, I guess we'll see where it goes from here. I don't hate the idea of just finally merging these two franchises though, because I just don't know what you do with a part 3 at this point. Like I feel like it would just be more of the same, and it's like you need to change it up at this point. So I guess we'll see. All right, I'll start us off rating it. I mean, I'm very like sort of like the Demeter last week. Like I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. But I do think it's an improvement over the first movie. I think there's some excellent scenes in here. And I just don't think the nun character has reached her full potential. I think her best performance was still in Conjuring 2. Like some of the creepiest scenes in that movie were all thanks to the nun. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Decent watch. I don't hate that I watched it. Will it be something I ever revisit though? Probably not. So yeah, I'm going to do it a 3 out of 5 on it.
Yeah. And I disagree. I think the nun character peaked in part 2. I think they've been trying to capture that essence, and I don't think you can't for reasons that we've discussed already. In the theater, I was mostly bored with it. I actually nodded off quite a bit, and there's such a cool story here with the nun, but they've missed it twice in a row, in my opinion. So it's 2.5 out of 5.
yeah, I think the nun parts of this movie were great. So I think they are capturing kind of the
All
essence
2 minutes of it.
Yeah, all 3 minutes. Yeah, all 3 minutes of it. I think they are capturing the essence of what the nun was in The Conjuring 2. You know, because she's not in it much, it kind of made those scenes more special, than they would be normally. And like I said, I really dug it. I was all into it. I thought the time passed by super fast. A lot of scares, a lot of memorable moments, and it gave me a lot to think about. So I liked it a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Like I said, I don't think it'll stay in my top 10 this year, but it's in there now. Just, it's hopefully gonna get bumped off in the next 3 months. So I'm very happy with it.
Either you improved your score or Joe dropped his down, because I remember one of you had a 3.5 at one point
For what?
for the nun too.
I never
Steve,
put it on Letterboxd.
I think you saw his Nun 1 review. He redid it. Gave it a
That might have
3.5.
been it. That might have
Yeah.
been it. Do you still have your nun animatronic, Steve?
Yeah, it's right behind me. Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, it's
I
not
have
there
a whole
anymore.
I have a whole nun shelf and everything.
That's the one I
Yeah.
gifted you, right?
Yeah, Joe gave it to
Yeah.
me.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the nun. It's I got a whole shelf dedicated to her with a few nun things, and I just dig that. I don't know. There's something about nuns that freak me out. I find religion in general to be scary. Like, I don't know, it's maybe the way I grew up. My grandparents' house was near a church and a cemetery, and there's a lot of haunted stories of priests and nuns and stuff in that area. So I guess I always grew up thinking religious people are scary. And there's something about this character that just freaks me out, and I love it.
And you met Bonnie at Frightmare, right?
I checked in next to her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right when I walk into the hotel for Texas Frightmare, I look to my right, and there's fucking the nun, Bonnie Aarons, checking in on my right, and Michael Myers on my left, checking in. So it's like me between the two fucking icons. It's crazy. It's quite the weekend, and I got to see her party at the bar with Cody.
Oh yeah.
There was only like 20 people at the bar. 15 of them were probably celebrities. Me and Cody, like, sipping our drinks, being like, oh my god, there's the nun talking to Michael Myers, to Art the Clown, to like, oh, it's crazy. What a fucking crazy weekend. And so yeah, I did get to meet Bonnie Aarons, but I didn't go to her table because I already had her autograph. But I did get to meet her outside of the con.
Excellent.
Mhm.
All right. Is that it, folks?
That's it.
All righty, guys. I think that's going to be it. We did get a couple of last minute questions, but we are out of time. So we'll save them for our next question segment. So thank you for sending in those last minute questions. We're always appreciative of you guys for sending in your questions. All right, but that is going to wrap it up for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed our review of The Nun 2. Next week, we are going to be reviewing Steve's pick of Arachnophobia. So get that bug spray out. Get those boots, those strong boots on. Get ready to stomp out some bugs next week. And in the meantime, though, you can keep up with the podcast on any of our socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. All you gotta do, just search the Horror Squad Podcast. You can also email us anytime, the Horror Squad Podcast @gmail.com. And of course, the absolute best way to keep up with the podcast is our Discord. Just send us a DM through any of our socials, and we will get you a link to that amazing Discord, amazing community over there. Always talking about everything, people posting food pictures of their meals, people talking horror movies. We got movie club, we got fantasy football now, whole bunch of fun stuff over there. So come and join a great horror community over there. Also, don't forget about our events we just mentioned on the show. October 7th, Ari Lehman at Silver Moon Comics, the first Jason. October 28th, Douglas Tate, who played Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, also signing at Silver Moon Comics. And our big event on October 20th and 21st. It's just a bunch of Halloween with Thora Birch, Omri Katz, Jason Marsden, and Vanessa Shaw. Head to itsjustabunchofhalloween.com for all information about that event. And I think that's about it, folks. So we'll see you guys next week for Arachnophobia. Bye.
Bye.